Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 and the final part of this group build of a T34. In this video we'll be looking at different types of weathering techniques and how you go about going from the acrylic look all the way around to the full-blown weathered look. So first off, everything was given a filter, including all of the accessories, the tracks, everything using my own homemade filters, using the raw umber colour, and basically that just dirties up all of the whitewash. It's around about 9 parts thinner to 1 part oil. Very important to make sure it's mixed thoroughly. Basically put it on as you normally would paint any type of model, but then wipe your brush off and then clean it back off, because really you just want to have a stained look. You don't want to actually have any pools or any sort of pin wash or anything like that. It's just to get everything blended together. Once done, just leave that to dry and then we can go on to the next. So next we're going to start with the oil work. You just put your oils as you use them onto a piece of card, and as you can see all the linseed oil soaks through, and basically what that means is that your oils will dry a lot quicker on the model. So what we need to do first is to do a pin wash, and for the pin wash we'll go back to the raw umber and we'll go around and see how that's done. So when I do my oil work, I have 2 pots of thinner, one where I will just generally wash the brush in so that gets a little bit dirty, and one where I maybe swapping colours and really need to make sure that the brush is completely clean, and therefore I have a little pot of clear varnish, and then just on the side I'll have some paper towels just to dry and clean up the brush. Because I'm going to be doing fine work, I'm just using a small brush, which is a 5, and then I'll also use an old blending brush as well. So what we need to do is just to mix up on the cardboard a pin wash. When you're happy with the consistency that you require, then we can just go around and apply the pin wash. Now because it is a ready-made pin wash and very thin, it won't take very long at all to dry out. So what we aim to do is to just do the line underneath the seam, do some work around here, in like so, and around the back as well, and then once finished that will be dry enough to blend in. So when doing your blending, you can use 2 types of action. One is a stippling effect, which is ideal for maybe the flatter surfaces, and underneath, if you want to start trying to create some streaks, you can start doing just a downward motion and making sure that the oils are all blended in, and that gives more of a natural look. Right, next we'll start some of the shading. Now for the shading, there are 2 colours that I usually go to. One is either Van Dyke Brown, or the other one which we're going to be using in this instant, which is Burnt Umber. So now what we need to do is to, as you can see I have some already on the palette here, is to sort of go for more of a wash consistency. And what we're aiming to do here is just to highlight the area. If you think in your own mind where there's going to be the most dirt and the most wear and tear, let's try and get that a little bit deeper. There we go. And then with your blending brush, as soon as it's been applied, then we can just blend it into that particular area. Add a little bit more as we go. Remember, don't swamp the model with the oils, because as already mentioned, once the oil is on your model, it will stain it no matter how much you try to take it off. And there we go, we have a nice subtle brown tone there. Again, if we just go underneath this particular area on the visor port, and as you can see we're starting to build out that stain. Also remember, I haven't left this to dry at all. I am applying straight on after the pin wash, and the reason I'm able to do that is because of the little amount of thinner that I'm using. Again, try and incorporate some streaking motions and start getting that going. Bit of a crease here, so there's more tendency for the dirt to run down there. And then again we will do some around here. So leave that with me and I'll carry on doing this particular effect. So as you can see, the pre-shading's now been done. Very, very effective, it's come out nicely. Just try and blend everything in. For example, we've got a bit of a rain streak that's come down here, so that's going to follow on down to underneath as well. So everything's all working in well. Anything you don't like, I don't like this particular bit here, so just get a little bit of thinner, dry it out on your towel, and then just blend it in. There we go. And that's the great thing about oils, you can just sit back and just play around until you get the effect that you're after. Right, now there's 4 colours here. There's red, there's a little bit of yellow, there's obviously the green and the white. So we need to accentuate those particular colours. So let's start with the green. Here we're using Abtelung's faded green. And here what we want to do is to make sure this is very, very thin, because what we want to do is to actually create stains. So on the green area, there we are, you can just see that there, that's a little blob there, and then get yourself some clear thinner, and again just blend that out. And that's all you have to do, is just put little blobs here and there and just let that blend out. So that's all the colouring done now. As you can see, I've added a little bit of red there. This is still wet, so obviously it will dry back in. You can see the green. Don't be afraid to put a bit of green on top of the white, because that does create a nice effect. And I've just added a little bit of yellow here, just to give that impression of that number being underneath the whitewash. So now what we're going to do is to turn our attention to the white. I particularly use soft mixing white, and the first thing we're going to do is to do some splatter marks. Now the first lot of splatter marks that we want to do are going to be very light, very much like a what should we say, like a filter. We don't want to use a great deal of white at all, so using the clear thinner so there's no contamination. If you can just see there how watery that is. Okay, and then it's just a matter of putting on there, and what we want to try and do is to get a bleached faint white covering. You can do this as much as you want until you're happy with the way it looks, and then once that's done, just give that a wipe. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to go a little bit thicker. Okay, so as you can see there, that paint's a bit thicker, and now what we want to do is to go for actual specific white marks. Again, I'll do some more, but there you've now got the impression of the white returning to the whitewash. Now with the white splatter marks now complete, as you can see the surface is quite wet from all of the thinner. So before we go on to the next stage, we must leave this now to dry fully. Depending on your time, you can now maybe start this process again, for example on the back end while this dries out, or maybe start on another part of the model, or as is the case now, I'm off to work. So with the initial oil work now dry, what we're going to do is to add some streaks. So one of my favourite colours to use is Starship Grime from Absalon. So what we'll do is we'll get a very thin amount and we'll just start to drag it down. It's too wet. There we go. And just do a little bit of streaking along the top here. That's nice. That's too thick. Maybe one or two streaks down here, just to complement the ones that are already on. Probably some coming down off the corner there. So once that's done, get your blending brush. Don't take it off completely, but certainly get the most of the oil off, blend it down, because we really are looking for stains rather than hard, fast streaks. And that was the thick one there, so don't panic, let's just get some thinner and we'll just blend that down. There we go. Now the downside is of that happening is now I have applied quite a lot of thinner to get that streak sorted out, so it's very important you now leave that area until it's fully dry. So with the grime streaks done, what we'll now do is move on to doing some white streaking. Again, very faint. That's nice, that's come out well. The white on top of the dark complements it nicely. And again, once done, get your blending brush and just blend those down. So all of the initial oil work's been done. As you can see, I've just added a few more streaks and a little bit more oil work off camera, because it's a lot easier to do off camera than it is on, but that's looking very nice. So next we're going to add a little bit of pigment, and what we're going to do, we're going to be using a pigment paste, which is just your pigments mixed up with water, and as you can see that's a bit gooey, which is the way we want it. And then what we want to do is just to create that sort of thick, worn in black look, where sort of dirt and grease and everything sort of accumulates. So if we just gently put the pigment around, by the way the pigment colour is dark earth, and we'll put that all the way around that particular area, and then underneath here as well, where all the dirt's going to accumulate against the ridges here. And we'll do that all the way along. And then once finished, it's just a matter of getting your blending brush and just blend that in. Doesn't take very long to dry at all. So there we go. And then what we can do, we'll just wash off the brush in some water, and then we'll go for Sepia, which is very much a black colour with a hint of brown to it. Let's just get a nice pin wash going there, and then what we'll do, we'll just add that final colour in there. There we go, and then once dry that will be blended out, and then that will give you that nice dark look that we have here. So that's that side of the turret complete now. Very pleased with how that's come out, and basically what will happen as that dries out, I'll start to do the other panels. As you can see here, the back hasn't even been touched, and then obviously the top, using the same sort of methods and techniques. And don't forget the underside, a few splatter marks there and discoloration, because that could well be seen once finished. And then during the course of doing the rest of the parts, I'll keep coming back and just adding bits here and there, but on the whole I'm very pleased with the way that's worked out. In between coach drying, I also made a start on the wheels, again using the same sort of techniques, and again very pleased with how they're shaping up. So really it's just a matter of doing an area at a time on the rest of the model, using your oils, your imagination, and then hopefully we'll have a finished model in due course. Now I was keen to have a Maxim Gun on the vehicle being carried, so I did some research and decided to go for the 135 mini art set. Had a lot of good reviews. You get 2 Maxims in the kit, and as you can see you get the machine guns and the bags and the ammo boxes, and when it arrived, the detailing on the parts was very good indeed. I don't want to swear on camera, but the actual kit itself is pretty awful. They say you get 2 Maxim guns in the kit. Well, it actually took me 2 Maxim guns just to make the 1 Maxim gun, and that 1 Maxim gun was poor quality. The main reasons are that the plastic is very brittle, and any model of this particular size, you're going to get seam lines on it, and as well as obviously the connectors to the sprue, and as soon as you started cleaning those off, the plastic parts just fell apart in your hands. Secondly, it's completely over-engineered, far too many parts. You're sort of putting 3 or 4 bits together for something that could quite easily be moulded together as one part. You did get a little PE sheet, which was quite neat, and also you have the options for the earlier version as well as the one from the 1940s. So yeah, all in all, extremely disappointed, and in the end I just was not happy at all with the final look of that particular Maxim, so it went in the bin. The guns themselves, 3 out of the 4 barrels are bent, because again not very well designed. This barrel here has got a massive seam line going all the way through it, so I'm sure that would be fun. But before I bin this kit, let's add on a positive note. The satchels, the bags, the ammo crates, very nice indeed, went together well and very nicely detailed. So that was the benefit of this kit for me. Altogether with the postage, that came in at £15. So what I had to do next was to actually source a replacement. I had my eye on the ICM model. The problem is though, it's quite costly for one particular gun, but it paid off in spades. So this one cost me £10, again including all the postage. As I say, you just get the one gun. you do get the choice of whether you want the chassis folded up, i.e. in transit, or lengthways to use, and you get the little ammo bin and a raft of bullets as well. So very pleased with how that went to go. Very solidly built, none of it snapped, none of it broke. Obviously there was no PE parts. I was tempted to swap it out and put the PE shield from the other model, but I think it all looked okay. Admittedly, yes, it's not quite as detailed as the Mini Art one, but obviously the payoff is that it's a lot sturdier, and quite frankly it looks like a Maxim gun, so that's all I was after. And there we have it in all its glory. As you can see, it's come out really well. Took a couple of hours to put together with cleaning up, etc. But very pleased indeed with that, and I'm going to look forward to painting that up and getting that put onto the back of the T34. So with the build complete, let's go through and have a look at a final assessment of the model itself. There will be a short video and some stills at the end, so you can see it in more detail. But the initial challenge for this paint scheme was to go for the worn out whitewash look, where I wanted to try and keep more of the whitewash on the turret and around the front area, but obviously avoiding the area where the crew members would go into the front of the tank. And then on the reverse, what we wanted was to make sure that there was little or no whitewash on the back, because obviously this is where all the troops would be carried and most of the wear and tear would occur. So from that point of view, I'm very pleased with how that's come along. Starting on our side, we have the stowage. Used some of the metal links that were left over from the main part of the tracks. The little ammo case, that was from that awful Mini Art Russian equipment set. This one is from Value Gear, and the whitewash one at the end, that's the actual one that came with the kit. The tow cables, they were from Eureka. Pretty much all of the research photos, for whatever reason, showed that they were either connected at the front, connected at the front here, or connected at the back, and then folded in halfway along. Didn't come across any where the tow cables went from front to back. Not saying that there aren't, but I didn't come across any. So moving around to the back, you'll see there's a little bit of vegetation, leaves. That's just from companies that I've accumulated over the years. There's the lovely Maxim on the back. I'm so pleased that I stuck with that, because that's come out really well, and it's a nice feature because loads of people have built the Tamiya T34, and what you want to do is just try and make your model somewhat different from the rest. So that stands out well. A little end gauge 50 link per inch chain either end to show that that's all tied down nicely. The photo etch fuel can has come out well. One thing, I think you can now see that in the light. If you just use some pigments, I use the AK dark steel, and just go around to some of the metal edges, the handles, some of the weld seams, etc. And that allows you to just put a little bit of wear on there, and makes your plastic model look metallic, which is obviously the main aim of any painting or weathering of a model. That's also been applied to the tracks, to the pinheads on the tracks. Adds that little bit of extra detailing. Here the resin log has come out well, very pleased with that, and again the extra links and some more leaf there. We also have one of the boxes, resin boxes here, which again came from Eureka. That's come out well, and the last of the Tamiya kits ones there. And as you can see, the tow cable again tucked in there. And then coming around to the front, which we've seen quite a few times now. Again, there we have the metal showing through on the bends of the fender, and that makes it a lot more realistic. The actual radio cable is just simply a piece of 0.5mm rod, which has been sanded down at the top to give it the pointy end. Yeah, so altogether, very pleased indeed with how that's come together. I've had great fun with this group build, so many thanks to Greg and the guys for allowing me to take part. I wish you all the best with your own builds in this group build, but from what I can see, it's proving to be very successful indeed. So it just leaves me to say thanks very much indeed for following along on this particular project, and many thanks to all of my subscribers, and I look forward to seeing you all on my next project. Happy modelling!